Imagine looking up at the sky on a quiet afternoon, only to see it rip open like someone tore reality with their bare hands. No warning, no explosion, just a blinding wound of golden light stretching across the heavens. New Yorkers froze mid-step. Cars stopped in the middle of the road. Even birds halted mid-flight like something in the air commanded them to be still. And then, everything went silent. A silence so unnatural that your heartbeat suddenly felt too loud. From this glowing rupture stepped a giant figure, wrapped in armor that looked like it was forged from the heart of a star. His presence wasn't just seen, it was felt, deep in your bones, deep in your memories, deep in something older than fear. That day, humanity didn't just witness a visitor, they witnessed dominance. A being whose footsteps shook the pavement, whose gaze made people drop to their knees without understanding why. This wasn't a hero, this wasn't a villain, this was something else, something ancient, something inevitable. And in that moment, the Marvel world had its greatest oh no moment. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Tell me in the comments. Iron Man was the first Avenger reckless enough to fly toward the glowing giant. His scanner screamed warnings Tony had never seen before. No biological signature detected, no heat, no radiation, no heartbeat. It was as if the man wasn't alive, yet more alive than anything Tony had ever recorded. Okay, big guy, Tony muttered. Either you're a new alien warlord, or the world's most intimidating cosplayer, but the armored giant didn't respond. Instead, he lifted his head and surveyed Manhattan with eyes that glowed like burning suns. Tony felt something strange, an invisible weight pressing on his mind, like a hand rearranging his thoughts as easily as someone adjusting a TV antenna. The giant finally spoke, his voice shaking nearby windows. This is not my Imperium, but humanity endures. Before Tony could reply, the golden aura around the figure intensified, causing every electronic system within a mile to flicker, malfunction, or shut down entirely. Tony's suit went dark. He dropped toward the ground like a stone until the giant simply lifted a hand. Reality itself bent. Tony froze mid-fall, hovering, suspended, like a puppet waiting for someone to cut the strings. I mean no harm, the giant said, not unless forced. Doctor Strange appeared next, materializing in a burst of crimson energy. His cloak wrapped around him as if sensing danger before he did. Who are you? Strange demanded. He conjured a containment spell instantly, more out of instinct than strategy. But as the spell snapped into place, something surreal happened. The spell cracked, not from resistance, but from proximity to the Emperor's mind. Strange felt it like a punch, a presence so vast it felt like staring into the sun through a microscope. You wield magic, the giant observed, yet you are afraid of your own power. Strange gritted his teeth. Answer the question. But before either could escalate, a thunderous boom struck the pavement. Thor arrived, lightning sparking across Mjolnir. Stranger, Thor shouted. State thy... He froze. The moment Thor looked into the giant's eyes, he felt it. Not strength, not power, authority, universal, unquestionable authority. A presence so absolute it made even the god of thunder feel like a child standing before a king he didn't know he served. By the All-Father, Thor murmured. What manner of being are you? The giant turned his burning gaze toward Thor. I am no god. I am the protector of mankind. As the Avengers assessed the situation, something else stirred. Something foul and cold. The golden rift behind the Emperor suddenly twisted, turning into a swirling vortex of crimson and sapphire. Strange felt it first, an infection prying at the edges of reality. This is wrong, he whispered. This isn't magic. This is corruption. A guttural, mocking laugh echoed through the air. Thor tightened his grip on Mjolnir. Tony's suit flickered back online. Strange positioned his hands in a defensive stance. From the distortion stepped a monstrous, creature-shifting forms every second, one face, then 100, then none. Tzeentch, the changer of ways, a chaos god. Emperor, the demon purred. How kind of you to open the... Sorcery and humanity collapsed under the weight of the creature's aura. People screamed. Windows shattered without being touched. The sky twisted into unnatural shapes. You will not corrupt this world, the Emperor warned. Tzeentch laughed. Oh, but I already have. Buildings warped. Streets folded. Reality itself tried to tear open like fabric caught on barbed wire. But then everything stopped. Everything, time, motion, noise, even the wind. The Emperor lifted his hand slowly, deliberately, and shattered the corruption with a psychic pulse. The Avengers watched in frozen disbelief. What kind of being could halt a chaos god's assault with a gesture? Tzeentch snarled as his distorted form wavered. You think you can stop change? The chaos god hurled storms of impossible energy, colors that didn't exist, sounds that crawled under your skin. shapes that broke every rule of physics. The Emperor moved through the attacks without flinching. Each footstep bent reality back into order, restoring what Tzeentch tried to destroy. "I can stop you," the Emperor replied. His aura exploded into golden fire. He formed a spear, not of metal but of raw willpower. The spear pierced the air with a sound like creation itself being rewritten. He hurled it. The spear struck Tzeentch in the core. The demon screamed. Skyscrapers trembled. Clouds evaporated. Thor shielded his eyes. Strange staggered. Tony uttered, "Okay. That's definitely not a cosplayer." The Emperor's voice thundered, "Begone." With a final pulse of psychic energy, Tzeentch exploded into nothingness, banished beyond the reach of mortal universes. The sky cleared. The wind returned. Humanity took its first breath in minutes. The danger had passed, but the story had only begun. New York slowly regained its rhythm, but the damage wasn't just physical, it was psychological. People felt a lingering echo of the Emperor's presence, as if their thoughts had been rearranged slightly. The Avengers regrouped, struggling to understand the scale of what they'd witnessed. "So, what now?" Tony asked, his faceplate retracting. "You going to conquer us or help us?" The Emperor turned away from the collapsed rift and faced the heroes of this universe. "I do not rule this world," he said. "I watch over humanity not to command them, but to guide them toward their destiny." Strange stepped forward. "This universe has its own guardians, its own balance." The Emperor studied him for a long moment. "Then let us see if that balance can withstand what is coming." Thor looked uneasy. "What is coming?" The Emperor gazed into the horizon as if seeing threats light years away. "Chaos never arrives alone, and your universe has been marked." Tony exhaled sharply. "Great, first contact, and we already have incoming problems." The Emperor finally spoke again, his voice softer but still resonant. "Prepare yourselves, heroes, for this is only the beginning." The Avengers escorted the Emperor of Mankind to the ruined streets of Manhattan, where emergency teams struggled to assist panicked civilians. Yet everywhere the Emperor walked, fear seemed to melt, not because people understood him, but because his presence soothed their instincts, commanding calm the way light pushes back darkness. Tony hovered beside him, trying not to show how nervous he truly was. "Okay, big guy," Tony said. "You drop out of a cosmic tear, fight nightmare jellyfish, and freeze time like it's a software glitch. I need answers." "Like yesterday." The Emperor paused, focused on a crying child trapped beneath rubble. With a gesture, not force, not magic, the debris lifted and folded itself neatly away. The child stood, uninjured. The Emperor placed a hand on her forehead and she stopped trembling instantly. Thor watched in awe. Strange watched in concern. Tony watched in confusion. "What exactly are you?" Tony whispered. The Emperor finally turned to him. "A protector," he said. "One who has failed before, and I will not fail again." The weight of that sentence hung heavy in the air. Strange teleported them all to the Sanctum Sanctorum, a safer place to speak. The Emperor walked inside without hesitation, despite the magical barriers reacting violently to his presence. Runes flickered, candles sputtered, relics rattled against their shelves. "He's destabilizing the building," Strange muttered. "Not intentionally," the Emperor replied. "Your magic is sensitive." Strange swallowed. Sensitive was an understatement. The Sanctum behaved as if a cosmic hurricane had just walked through the door. Wearing boots, Thor stepped forward. "I have lived for thousands of years," he said, "yet never have I stood before someone whose spirit rivals the you. All-Father." The Emperor shook his head. "Your father was a ruler. I am something else." Tony crossed his arms. "Okay then, something else. Care to explain?" The Emperor looked into the swirling eye of Agamotto hanging above Strange's chest. "Your universe is young?" Strange frowned. "Young?" "Yes," the Emperor said. "Untouched by the greater horrors beyond your reach. But now that a chaos god has stepped foot here, your universe is no longer hidden." Those words made the room colder. Strange felt it first, an unfamiliar pressure across the fabric of reality, like dozens of invisible fingers probing the edges of their world. "You mean others? Like that creature? Can find us now?" he asked. The Emperor nodded slowly. "Chaos does not travel alone. It spreads. It searches. It grows." Tony looked at Thor. "You hearing what I'm hearing?" Thor nodded grimly. "That more of these demons May come. Not may, the Emperor corrected. Will. Strange's fist tightened. This universe has defenders. We have defeated Dormammu, Celestials, Thanos. Yes, the Emperor said, but chaos is not a conqueror. Chaos is corruption. The more you fight it, the more it adapts. The more you destroy it, the more it learns. You do not understand what has attached itself to your reality. The room darkened as if responding to his words. A crack formed in the air, small but visible. Strange panicked. Is that another portal? No, the Emperor said. It is a symptom. He tapped the crack with a finger. It vanished instantly. Your universe is wounded. Thor placed a hand on the Emperor's shoulder. If this threat is so great, why not take command? You have the power. Lead us. For the first time since he arrived, the Emperor's gaze softened. I once ruled. I once commanded legions beyond number. I once carried the hopes of trillions. He looked toward the window where the city lights pulsed like stars, and yet I failed. My Imperium fell into stagnation, fear, and unending war. I will not impose such a fate on this world. Tony raised a brow. Most powerful guy we've ever seen. And he refuses leadership? That's new. Power is a burden, the Emperor replied. If I lead you, you will depend on me. If you depend on me, you will weaken. And if you weaken, chaos will win. Strange sighed. Then what do you propose? The Emperor stepped into the center of the room, golden energy flaring around him. I will guide you, strengthen you, prepare you for what comes next. But your world must stand on its own feet, not mine. The Avengers exchanged uncertain glances. This was not what they expected. The conversation ended abruptly when the ground trembled violently. Strange extended his senses across the city and gasped. Another tear. He shouted. Tony's suit activated instantly. Thor summoned lightning, but the Emperor was already outside, moving with impossible speed. When the Avengers arrived, they saw a new rip in reality forming above the Hudson River. This time, the energy was darker, corrosive, oily, pulsing like a diseased heartbeat. This is not Tzeentch, Strange warned. No, the Emperor said, his voice tightening. This is something older. A massive claw forced its way through the tear. Then another. Then a head with too many teeth, too many eyes. Too many whispers crawling across its skin. Civilians screamed and ran in every direction. The creature's voice slithered across the city. Humanity. Thor charged forward. Creature. Face. He was slapped aside like a toy. The impact cratered an entire building. Tony fired repulsors, useless. Strange cast a dozen spells. They evaporated on contact. The Emperor stepped forward, golden flames rising. You are not welcome here, he declared. The demon laughed. You cannot stop the tide. What happened next didn't look like a fight. It looked like a clash of myths. The Emperor launched himself into the air, striking with psychic force that rippled across the river like a storm. The demon shrieked, the water boiling beneath it. Tony hovered above the chaos, recording everything. This is insane, he said into his comms. This guy is fighting like a god made from nuclear reactors and destiny. The demon spewed beams of corruption that melted steel as if it were wax, but the Emperor moved faster, bending the beams away, reshaping the air itself. Thor recovered and rejoined the battle. Strange opened protective shields to keep the city from collapsing under the shockwaves. But the Emperor didn't need help. He was dominating. He seized the demon by its throat, lifting it into the sky. Return to the void, he commanded. Golden fire erupted from his eyes, burning through the creature until nothing remained but dust dissolving into the wind. The rift sealed itself instantly. The river calmed. The city exhaled. When the Avengers finally regrouped, they stared at the Emperor with a mixture of awe, fear, and uncertainty. Tony landed beside him. Okay, I'm convinced. You're strong, but you're hiding something big. The Emperor didn't deny it. There's a reason chaos seeks this universe, he said. A reason I followed it here. Strange narrowed his eyes. A reason related to us? Yes. The Emperor turned toward the skyline, watching the city breathe under the stars. Something is awakening on this earth, something powerful, something dangerous. Thor tightened his grip. What is awakening? The Emperor looked at each of them slowly, deliberately. Your destiny, he said, and the enemy that hunts it. The wind howled. The lights flickered. The sky rumbled. Whatever he meant. It was only the beginning. Night settled over New York. But the city felt different now, quieter, heavier, as if even the streetlights understood something. Unimaginable had stepped into their world. The Avengers gathered on the rooftop of Stark Tower, watching the Emperor of Mankind stand at the edge, staring into the distance like he was reading every heartbeat on Earth. Tony approached cautiously. You said something is awakening on this planet, he said. I'm gonna need you to elaborate before I lose sleep for the rest of my billionaire life. The Emperor didn't turn. His voice drifted like a prophecy. Humanity is changing. Strange frowned. People evolve every generation. Not like this, the Emperor replied. Your species is touching the edges of psychic power, abilities that will shape your future, for better or worse. Thor stepped forward. You speak of power, but power alone does not draw monsters. Correct, the Emperor said, but chaos gods do. A cold silence fell over the group. Strange's hand glowed with cautious magic. What exactly are these chaos gods seeking? The Emperor finally looked at them, eyes burning brighter than before. They seek hosts, minds, souls, soldiers, and your Earth is fertile ground. Tony felt his throat tighten. So what, you're saying Earth is like a buffet? A battlefield, the Emperor corrected. One that has not yet begun. Strange rubbed his temples. We've dealt with cosmic beings before, Dormammu, Celestials, the Ancient One. We've kept the balance. Dormammu is a shadow compared to the warp, the Emperor said. He wants dominion. They want corruption. Thor's boot struck the metal rooftop as he walked closer. If this danger is as you describe, why did you come alone? Where are your armies? The Emperor's jaw clenched. My armies fought for 10,000 years. Their devotion preserved humanity, but their sacrifice cost us everything. A dark memory flickered in his eyes, pain, betrayal, regret. I did not come with soldiers, he said quietly. I came with a warning. Tony let out a slow breath. Okay, so what's the game plan? Because chaos isn't scheduling an appointment. The, Emperor turned to face them fully now. Golden aura humming. First we find the one who is awakening. Strange stiffened. The one? Meaning what? A single person? The Emperor nodded. A single human, capable of shifting the fate of this universe. Before anyone could ask more, alarms blared across the city. Buildings shook. Birds scattered. Traffic screeched to a halt. Strange closed his eyes, reaching out with his senses. Then his eyes snapped open in horror. There's a rupture forming, but it's not like the others. It's inside someone. Tony blinked. Inside someone? You mean like a host? The Emperor finished. A scream echoed across Manhattan, so powerful it split glass windows over 10 blocks. The Avengers took to the sky instantly, following the wave of psychic energy. When they arrived at the scene, they found a young woman on her knees in the middle of a deserted street. Cars were overturned, lampposts bent, roads cracked as though something inside her was pushing reality outward. She's not doing this willingly, Strange said, already forming containment spells. No, the Emperor replied, but she is doing it naturally. Thor landed close, raising his hammer defensively. The woman lifted her face, and her eyes weren't human anymore. They swirled with colors that didn't belong in this universe. A voice spoke through her lips, layered with countless whispers. We see you. Golden One, the Emperor's aura ignited instantly. Thor, Tony, and Strange were thrown back by the shockwave alone. The possessed woman rose into the air, her hair floating like she was underwater. This world awakens, the voices said. This mind is ours. The Emperor stepped forward, each stride bending the quaking ground back into stability. Release her, he commanded. You will not touch this world. The voices laughed. We already have. The Emperor raised a hand and pushed his psychic energy outward, creating a golden sphere around the woman. The demon inside her shrieked, struggling, warping the air around it. Strange tried to reinforce the barrier with magic, but his runes shattered instantly. This is beyond sorcery, Strange said, breathless. She's tearing open the border between worlds. Tony circled overhead, running scans, but the readings caused his suit to glitch. Guys, whatever is inside her is rewriting physics. My scanners think she's both alive and dead at the same time. Thor stepped beside the Emperor. What must we do? The Emperor didn't answer immediately, because he already knew. And he hated the answer. The ground began to ripple like liquid. The woman screamed again, her voice echoing across dimensions. A swirling tear opened behind her. Not golden, not crimson, but pitch black. A void, a mouth. Something ancient was pulling itself through, her soul like a hand reaching through fabric. The Emperor suddenly grabbed Thor's arm. "Stand back! You cannot face this alone!" Thor roared. "No," the Emperor said. "But I must." Tony landed beside them, faceplate retracting. "If you have a plan, now would be a great time to spill it." The Emperor lifted both hands, golden energy spiraling around him. "She is not the enemy," he said. "She is the doorway." The black void widened, stretching, tearing, whispering. Strange's eyes widened. "If that opens fully, the entire city, maybe the entire planet, will collapse into the warp." "Exactly," the Emperor said, "which is why I must close it from within." Tony stepped forward. "Wait, within? As in going inside that thing?" "Yes. That is literally the worst idea I've ever heard." The Emperor didn't disagree. He looked at the woman one last time. "Forgive me, child." Then he stepped forward toward the screaming void. The moment he entered the rift, the world shook like a drum. Lightning tore across the sky. Buildings trembled violently. The woman collapsed unconscious, her eyes returning to normal. But the tear didn't close. It widened, desperately, hungrily, resisting the Emperor's attempt to force it shut. Strange shouted over the roar of collapsing reality. "It's fighting him. It's pulling energy from the warp." Tony blasted his repulsors into the tear, but the beams bent like rubber. Thor hurled Mjolnir, lightning exploding across the void, but it absorbed the impact like a bottomless ocean. Inside the rift, faint golden light flickered, fighting, resisting, diminishing. "He's struggling," Strange said, shocked. "He's actually struggling." Tony clenched his fists. "We can't lose him. We don't survive what's coming." Without him, Thor looked into the swirling darkness, jaw tightening. "We cannot let him fall alone." And then from deep within the void came a voice. Not the Emperor's, not a demon's, something older, something dreadful. "He belongs to us." A blast of shadow erupted outward. The Avengers were thrown back as the tear expanded into a swirling black sun above the city. The Emperor was still inside, being pulled deeper. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to see what happens next, smash that like button right now. It really helps the story reach more amazing viewers like you. And hey, don't just watch in silence. Drop a comment below telling me your favorite moment from today's episode or what you think is going to happen next. I reply to as many comments as I can. Make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next episode the moment it drops. Trust me, you don't want to be the last to know what happens. If you're still watching till this point, you're a real one, so go ahead and share this video with a friend who loves powerful stories. Let's grow this community together. Are you ready for the next episode? Then hit like, comment, "I'm ready," and let's continue the journey.